What say we get into the news?
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North and South America, and all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
Thank you, Mr. Now, for that.
Yes, Mark Now, indeed. We love you, Mark. First up in game news, Core Worlds was a card-based game, sort of a Race for the Galaxy type game with a little bit of Magic the Gathering moved in. It's a tableau builder. Essentially, it is barbarians from outer worlds coming and attacking the Core World systems and so on and so forth. A good game. It's quite interesting. You've played Dominion, right? As far as tableau builders.
Yes.
Imagine Dominion, only instead of one economy, there are 4 different currencies in the game. So the cards that you're getting don't purchase this, but they can purchase that and all that sort of stuff.
Maybe that's where the cost got its idea.
Maybe. I guess with 4 different regions, I guess there is a little something to that. That's what Core Worlds is. You're buying planets, you're buying military units to defend those planets, you're buying tactics which you can use. So it's a very combat-y kind of game, but quite good. Well, in 2018, Stronghold Games announced that they were going to do a board game version of Core Worlds, and we've just found out that Quixotic Games now has gained the publishing rights to the Core Worlds universe, and they're going to be bringing to market a game called Core Worlds Empires. One of the things that draws me to it, first of all, I like the setting. I like Core Worlds. It wasn't my favorite of those kinds of games. I'm not a huge tableau builder guy myself. I like them, but they're not. They don't sing to my heart the way a game with 18 different resources sings.
You
to
don't
Elder.
even like Maddie's favorite tableau builder.
What are you thinking? Of Race Arcana?
Yes.
Starts
It
with an
doesn't
A.
start with an A, but that's exactly what I'm thinking of. That's a tableau builder that you don't like.
That's true.
Maybe that's why.
Well, that is the most minimalistic tableau builder in the world. Each person's personal deck of cards is very, very small. So, but no, I don't like that. No. But that same designer, Tom Lehman, did do Race for the Galaxy, which I continue to love and prefer the card version of Race for the Galaxy, the actual tableau builder. I prefer to Roll for the Galaxy, which he did later, to the various other incarnations that he's done of that system, including Race Arcana to some degree is based on Race for the Galaxy. So I do prefer that. Core Worlds is a worker placement game for 1 to 5 players. Each world in the galaxy is going to be a place where your ambassadors, your workers, can visit, and worlds that appear in the game are variable, so the board is going to change over time, and no 2 games are going to be identical. Looks kind of interesting. The plan is to kickstart this game probably in 2021, early 2021. So if you liked Core Worlds, or if you like the idea of this, you probably should want to keep an eye on this when this comes out. It could be something quite interesting. Next up, we just want to give a little update on Stefan Feld's Bonfire. Stefan Feld's Bonfire is being played actively by our board game. Our game.
I'm going to be playing
game
it with Jennifer later today.
There you go. Yeah, Jennifer has been playing a lot of it. Elder has played a lot of it. Elder is a Stefan Feld head. He's got all the Stefan Feld merchandise. He's got the tattoo. He really likes Stefan Feld because Stefan Feld tends to have a point salad game, which is Stefan Feld's style. And by point salad, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it just means that there are a lot of different ways to score points. It's like, okay, this sort of thing scores points based on how many of these you have. And then this one, it's for every one that you get, it's going to multiply the amount of points you get, and so on and so forth. So all sorts of different resources, and they score in very different ways generally. That's the Stefan Feld model. And even to this day, he still does it. He makes all his games quite different. I think we had the heyday of Stefan Feld was those were the 2008 to 2012, somewhere in that range. Those were the days of Castles of Burgundy, which to me is still his absolute classic. But he also did Bora Bora. He did Trajan. A lot of really solid, really good games he did back in that era. And then he kind of dropped off the map. Now, I've heard Forum Trajanum, which he did a couple of years back, was very good. Haven't played it. But Bonfire is getting some really good reviews from our Game Brain crew. So I'm very much looking forward to playing it. I'm glad you're going to be playing it today or tomorrow, you said?
Today.
Today. It's fantastic.
I don't like the art.
I'm not crazy about the art either, I have to say.
It's
I
kind
agree
of
with you.
bluish red. It looks...
You know what it looks like? It looks like some of the side art in not Gaia Project, but Terra Mystica. Look at it. It looks like it looks like the Terra Mystica art very much.
Yes, and I don't know why I like Barrage, because Barrage is everything I dislike. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's hard to read.
The board isn't that dark though. The sideboards are dark, but the actual board is kind of light and airy with the water trickling down from the mountains. So
Maybe you're right. But this one seems to me kind of heavy. But I'm judging it from photographs. I'm going to see it in more detail in real life later, and we'll be able to report when we sit down again and re-record this.
Well, actually, I'm bringing up the game because starting on October 22nd, Board Game Geek is going to live stream some demos for 4 days covering some of the Spiel titles. So basically, we don't have Essen this year. We don't have Spiel. Board Game Geek on the 22nd are going to be showing us the games that you might have experienced if that convention was going on.
Is friend of the podcast Candace going to be involved?
I'm virtually certain. I would be shocked if she wasn't. We love Candace. So I'm pretty sure that she will be. And anyway, one of the games that's going to be demoed online is definitely going to be this Bonfire. You should check it out because the buzz we're getting from our friends is pretty good right now. So listen, if Feld can get back to his classic form, he was one of the best designers in the world for a long time at making really good game after really good game. Next up is the game I wanted to talk to you about the most, Dimitri, because this is my favorite of the announcements. This is the favorite. It's also the one that's the farthest from production, so who knows where it's going to end up. But first Monday in October is supposed to be a 2021 release. Dimitri, what is the significance of the first Monday in October?
The Supreme Court sits down to hear their cases.
That's exactly right. This is a game about the United States Supreme Court. It is designed by a first-time designer, Talia Rosen, which would give me some pause. But actually, the developer of the game, not the designer of the game, but the developer of the game, the person that is sort of shepherding it along, is Jason Matthews, who is one of the designers of Twilight Struggle and Imperial Struggle. So this is a really good, designer that is doing development on this game. It looks crazy interesting. I'm just looking at a prototype, so it's super raw and super rough. Though I have to say, most people's prototypes, when they put them out, look like finished Splatter games. they're really not that far from that. Anyway, the idea is there are 4 judicial philosophy tracks, and each player is representing a think tank that's trying to influence the opinion of them. So pro, con, all that sort of stuff. So the tracks are the Commerce Clause. How do we interpret the Commerce Clause, right? Which essentially is how much federal power is there versus how much is reserved exclusively for the states. The equality, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Esquire. Equality and liberty track, broadly representing the scope of individual equality and liberty, including but not limited to the 14th Amendment. Free speech is what is the obligation of the First Amendment.
Fired!
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that, Dimitri. Not cool. And then last but not least, executive power, which, boy, oh boy, have we been having some interesting interpretations of executive power recently. shifting the philosophy each way is something that is going to happen through turns, through actions. You're going to be taking 3 actions of 6 possible actions. They all have to be different unless you spend one of your prestige points, essentially. And then you can double up and take the same action multiple times, which evidently is going to be much more powerful. And it has some of the cards that are in the game are famous cases: McCulloch versus Maryland, Hammer versus Dagenhart, Tinker versus Des Moines.
That's very much Twilight Struggle.
Yes, it is.
So if you know the cases, they're meaningful. The Supreme Court eviscerated the 14th Amendment's protection of substantive rights and basically reduced it to due process, which is a crime against humanity perpetrated by the justices in the late 19th and early 20th century. Also, basically, all Supreme Court jurisprudence reduces to the test. Are you applying a reasonable basis test? Are you applying a strict, I forget what that's called. But it really is about the government can violate any right. It's just a matter of when can they do it. So, we'll see that rolling down the pike. As far as I know, the creators of Twilight Struggle are libertarians. And
You think so?
one of them is, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And I could be wrong. This is a very bitter topic for me right now.
Well, let's shift it to the happier point of it. We're bringing up your subject, the law, right now, so we should
Sure.
give you a little plug. DMITRY works mainly in slip and fall board gaming injuries. So if you have fallen on a miniature of some kind, if
you have stepped on the miniature, especially one of those jagged plastic ones. Also, when you punch out the card stock, sometimes you get those little ridges that can really kind of give you. I don't know if the industry term for that is paper cuts,
right?
But they're actually cardboard cuts, and because they're cardboard, they're much more serious than people might think at first.
Yeah, I believe in the German courts you referred to them as lacerations.
Yes, it's kind of like rapier versus broadsword.
Understood. Understood.
Cardboard being the broadsword of the paper cut.
So if you find yourself in need, you go to a friend's game night, innocently thinking that you're going to have a fun night, and then you come out with what could be a debilitating or life-threatening injury, you want to call DMITRY, 1-800-696-SPIEL.
Spiel trauma.
Spiel trauma.
And not to be confused with trauma spiel.
Which is the dream game.
Yes, exactly. That's Trom Spiel, actually.
Anyway, first Monday in October, 2 to 4 players, 90 to 120 minutes. My favorite game is
it's not going to be 90 to 100.
My favorite game is DMOCR. And my second favorite game is pretty much Twilight Struggle. This has my name written all over it. I can't wait to check it out. It's not quite ready yet, but keep it in mind.
Strict scrutiny.
Strict scrutiny.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. Next up, we have The Thing. Yes, The Thing, the board game. DMITRY, do you want to take a guess how many versions of The Thing have become board games?
I would imagine a dozen, since it's so board game ready.
There might be. Just a few years ago, in 2017, The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31 came out. In 2010, a more card game version of The Thing, which is a little more Avalon-ish, came out. The Thing itself is based on a John W. Campbell short story called Who Goes There?
By the way, I recommend The Thing itself by Adam Roberts hugely. It's a novel that ties The Thing to Kant's The Thing itself.
Interesting.
Immanuel Kant. It's fantastic.
Interesting. Anyway, so Who Goes There is also a board game. So there have been many versions of this, but in 2021, the official board game based on the movie, in not not the first movie, the second movie, because
Not the third movie.
not the third movie, the second movie.
The movie, the John Carpenter movie from 1982.
What many would say is the pinnacle of John Carpenter's career. Probably.
I would say the greatest American science fiction adaptation, because 2001 is not an adaptation of the Arthur C. Clarke book, but actually the script and the book were written simultaneously.
Interesting. I personally, I have a hard time, I'm a John Carpenter fan. I like They Live is not a good movie. I love it. I will watch it. If it's on television, I will sit down and I will watch the whole darn thing. I can't stop myself. Big Trouble in Little China. Oh, such a soft spot in my heart. Escape from New York, Assault on Precinct 13. His version of Rio Bravo, essentially. It's crazy good. But the thing is the best.
He wrote the music for it.
It's amazing. He writes the music for, I think, almost every single movie that he's ever done.
And the thing is a great score.
It really is. It really is. So, new version of the thing coming out. How is it different? Well, it is social deduction. It is going to be, all of these games are chasing Battlestar Galactica to some degree, right? They're
which is out of print.
Which is out of
a
print.
crime.
Which is. I totally agree. There are other games like Dead of Winter, which also traffic in the same sort of thing to some degree. But the setting for the thing is just so precise and so wonderful. I don't know if it's going to be a good game. I wonder if it's going to be a good game. The question is, what are the players doing? Like, the Thing player is probably going to have a pretty good time. What are the people that are not the Thing player? What are they doing? My understanding is in this game, they have to get food. They have to make sure that the generator stays operational, that the heating stays on. Otherwise, they'll all freeze to death, right? So they've got to do those things. Is that going to feel like busy work? Or is that going to feel meaty and substantive? Are you going to feel like you're caught up in a story? The great thing about Battlestar Galactica was there were silent attacks, there were sabotage, there was all sorts of things that was going on.
The maintenance was precipitated by silent attacks. You had to fix something that the silence damaged.
And you can't fix everything. You have to decide, what are we going to put our priorities in? And when you have a fundamental disagreement with somebody, am I disagreeing with you because we just see things differently? Or am I disagreeing with you because you are a Cylon? You are a toaster, and you're trying to kill us, which is just wonderful. Now, we kind of stopped playing Battlestar Galactica, and when Avalon came out, we kind of felt like Battlestar Galactica was cocaine and Avalon was crack. It's just the essence of the experience boiled down to a much shorter timetable.
Not short enough for Maddie.
Not short. Well, we then expanded the timetable. we added crystal meth into the mix or something like that with our with the way we play it, and it became a huge long thing. Anyway, I'm
a huge long thing, Tom.
Yes, I'm always into trying a new social deduction / board game and check it out. There's a game called Dark Moon, which I thought was quite good. It might have a little bit to do with that. We'll see. But the thing,
I want to see the thing with cis hetero white males. I want to see remakes of the thing with women. I want to see remakes of the thing with trans people. I want to see remakes of the thing with gays, lesbians, with South Asians. I want to see remakes of the thing with other cultures. I want to see exactly how much the thing and the paranoia of the thing and the kind of intimacy but also strangeness of the thing, how you don't really know the people that you've just spent a year with in close quarters. How much of that is really an artifact of American culture?
To paraphrase, Dimitri, do you have a dream where a thing will attack a person not for the color of their skin, but for the content of their character?
I want to see a thing be not, well, what's so bad about the thing, really? What are they really afraid of?
I mean, communism. It is an anti-communist polemic.
Prescient in 1943, by the way, it was written when the commies were our friends.
Yeah, John W. Carpenter was an amazing science fiction editor. Unfortunately, also an amazing racist. His legacy was forever tarnished by.
But actually,
and actually helped founding of Scientology. He did. So
well, yes,
very complicated guy.
I would call him quite simple. Have you read the novella? It's a quite long short story.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good.
I read it before I was conscious of its political underpinnings. I wonder what I would think of it now.
I don't know. I mean, it was, it was as paranoid as the man himself, I think, in a lot of ways. So it's interesting. Let's move on to Tungaru. Tungaru
a game I actually played.
A 2020 release about roaming the islands of Polynesia. Tell us about it, Dimitri, because you've played it.
It's very polished. There's nothing. There are not any new elements in it. There are not any new mechanisms in it. But you travel from island to island. You leave workers behind. You build outposts. You collect resources, and you convert those resources to points by recruiting helpers that live on the islands. It is a game that combines all these different mechanisms in a way that I thought was kind of cool. It plays in 2.5 hours. It has a relatively moderately long teach, but not a hugely awful teach. It reminds me a lot of Smartphone because you do kind of geographically travel to these different markets that you may be prepared for, but maybe not so prepared to exploit. And the goal is to balance your travel and time it so you get to a certain geographic point when you're most likely, because of your resources and because of your helpers, to get the most out of it.
Interesting.
It's not, for me, quite as novel as Smartphone. Smartphone is just a little more shinier and sleeker because it has that action selection that's unique.
Yep.
And this doesn't have like a standout thing.
It doesn't have a unique mechanic.
Not for me.
Got it.
But as a well-made, well-executed game with a lot of interesting, chewy, but not too, jaw-cracking decisions, I thought was very pleasant.
Middleweight?
Yes, middle leaning towards heavier because there are a lot of decisions to make. There are a lot of pathways to victory. It's not quite a point salad because I don't think there are like any extraneous decisions, but it's like heavier than Concordia, which it shares a lot in common with, because in Concordia you also travel and leave behind outposts. And you also gain a lot of points by recruiting helpers. It's not. It's more interesting than that, and it also has almost everything you do has 2 different or 3 different components to it. It has 2 or 3 different ways in which you can use it, and if you use it in one way, you can't use it in another. And so again, a lot of it. It's not a grab bag. It's actually, for me, a construction of very familiar different mechanisms.
I got to check that out. It sounds interesting. I don't need something to be brand new. Sometimes the artful reconfiguration of great elements can make some of the best games ever. I think Great Western Trail it doesn't really have anything tremendously innovative. A little bit in terms of the way that it reinvents the rondel, but yeah, cool. And last but not least, we have an Uwe Rosenberg to talk about. An old school Uwe Rosenberg, big and heavy. Hallertau, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm going to go with that, is a 16th century game about making beer. The city of Ingolstadt in Bavaria passed the Germany beer purity law, which told him what ingredients you had to do, what ratio you had to have, and even how much you could sell your beer for. Well, this takes place during that period where we are trying to build up that region into the industry that it would eventually be. It became the biggest hops growing region by the 16th century, started growing hops in the 8th century. And you're the chief of a small village, and you're going to be providing local craftsmen with goods they need. You're going to cultivate crops. You're going to breed sheep. Why does Uwe Rosenberg always obsess about breeding sheep? I'm starting to detect a fetish here.
I want to say that for the German farmers, beer was a matter of life and death.
Yes, it was their food.
Did not drink water because water spread disease. So they drank beer, and they added beer to water to kill off the microbes. And that's also they were always drunk.
And what did the English and Irish and Scottish call whiskey? Well,
the water of life, right?
The pure, a drop of the pure.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And they would drop it into water sometimes when there wasn't enough whiskey for them to drink, and they literally did probably save their lives because they would add enough whiskey in there that it would kill the bacteria and the microbes.
They just didn't have the bleach that we
clearly
enjoy today. Yes.
That now, being bigly smart with science, we use all the time. Anyway, Allertau looks like a classic Uwe Rosenberg game. I am looking at the resources now, and Elder, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I count 10 resources, Elder. I believe that is just over your over-under. So Uwe Rosenberg is back, baby. Ora Labora, we raved about not more than a couple months ago. This could be the new Ora Labora. Can't wait to check it out.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.